journey into React with you. Tonight's session is all about getting started with the basics of React. Over the next hour, we will explore React's key concepts like its component-based structure and see why it's such a popular tool in modern web development. Feel free to shoot questions and get involved because this is a hands-on learning space. It is my honor to introduce our guest speaker, a brilliant coder, Gaurav Gully, whose passion and expertise has driven insightful projects and inspired many in the tech community. Let's dive in and make this a great start to your React journey. So, Gaurav, the floor is all yours.
So, hi guys, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, hey guys, this is Gaurav, and in this session, we will cover the basics and the fundamentals of React, and we'll see the key concepts like components, hooks, and component life cycles, and etc. So, if you have any doubt, please feel free to ask. So, also here and there, I'll be checking with you guys for queries, and so let's get started. So also the prerequisite for this course is to know the basics of JavaScript and also to know why Node.js is used. So I've gotten a couple of queries that some of you haven't installed Node.js yet. So I'll be starting from there. So 1 second, I'll just present my screen. Yes. Can you guys see my screen? Is somebody react now? Okay. So go to this website, nodejs.org, and then you will find this downloadable file. Simply download Node.js, and after you guys download it, just let me know. We'll start the session. And also, some people who are using Windows, I would request them to also install the Git Bash terminal. So that it'll be easy for you guys to follow along with the course. So once you guys are done with installing these two resources, let me know. We'll start the session. And also, if you have any problems while installing Node.js or Git Bash, let me know. I'll help you out. Which extension do? Um, Are you talking about the Git Bash? Node.js? No, Node.js is a requirement, right? You need to install it on your device. Without it, you won't be able to run React actually. Yeah. Yeah, sure. 1 second. So while you're installing, I would like you to know about the basic. Just 1 second. Which device are you on? Vasant and Sweta. Yeah, so did you try installing the right one? So git bash, just install the Windows installer, no? Actually, not a problem. If you know how to move around using CMD, you can still use that as well. But git bash is just for the sake of following this session. But I will also be telling what to do on CMD whenever required. So I think let's not waste much time, and we'll start the session. Okay. So a very important concept in JavaScript in general is the DOM, or the document object model. So basically, your entire JavaScript application will be represented as a tree. So as you can see, your HTML tag is a root, and then you have the children as head and body, and then within that you have the different components under those. So based on this tree structure, your browser will try to understand and try to represent the UI in your browser. So React does this in a different way. So what React does is uses something called a virtual DOM. So basically, in a normal DOM, what happens is that if any component or any part of the DOM faces a change, for example, let's say you have any change in the H2 tag here, the DOM usually re-renders the entire application. So which is a waste of time and resource. So what React does is it makes use of something called the virtual DOM. So firstly, it will keep track of changes in components. So let's say we have, so here each node represents a component. So if you find a change in this particular component, React will try to flag that component, and it will also try to flag other components that uses this particular component. So let's say this component is already flagged, and since this component is also using this component, so it will flag both of these. And once that is done, so what it does is it does something called the reconciliation process. So in this process, it will try to compare the virtual DOM that it has created with the original browser DOM. So while comparing, it will try to find the differences, and it will only update those components which has changes. So why this is efficient is because in this process, only those components will be re-rendered that have changes in them, and all other components that you see here, like for example, these components have no change, so these will be rendered as it is, and there'll be no change in them, and only these components will be rendered again. So that was about the virtual DOM. So now let's go about creating a React application. So earlier we used to use a tool called Create React App to make React projects. So this app had its own benefits and also drawbacks. So to overcome all that, we have a new modern tool called Vite, Vite, using which we create React applications. So what you can do is you can open your preferred terminal, either CMD or Git Bash, depending on whatever you have. So once you open, let me know. Okay. So so make sure you have Node.js installed. And if you want to check if Node.js is installed or not, just type this command npm ---- version. So you get the version of your Node.js and Node Package Manager. NPM stands for Node Package Managers, using which you can install different tools and libraries. So now, using this, navigate to your desired folder. So let's say you're usually in your root folder. So if you type ls, you'll be seeing all the different directories available in your system. So let's say if you want to go in your desktop, just do CD and desktop, you will be navigated to your desktop, right? So using this technique, try navigating to the folder wherein you want to create your project. So I usually create my project in a different directory, so I'll be navigating there. So once you have navigated, let me know. Just put a message in the chat box or raise your hand. That should be fine. Okay, I think you have no problem. If you have no problem, I'll start with the installation. Okay, so to install or to create the React app, please use this command npm create wheat at latest. I will paste this command in the chat box as well. Right, and press enter. So once you press enter, it'll ask you to name a project. So let's just call it React Bootcamp. So once you're done with this, it'll ask you to select a framework. So currently we are going to use React. So use your arrow keys to navigate up and down and choose React. And then we'll be using JavaScript. So once this is done, if you click ls, it is going to show that you have created a new React project. So to navigate, did somebody say something? Okay. To navigate within your project, what you can do is you can type cd and your project's name. So I create a React Bootcamp. So I'll say React.
Yeah, hello.
Yes. Do you have any doubts? You can use your mic, dude. Okay. So yeah, so you can navigate into your React project. And if you type ls, you will see all the files that are created automatically inside this project. So what you can do is you can open your file explorer and go to the project where you created it. So it's right here, React Fundamentals. And yes, and open this project in VS Code or any editor you use. So to open it, go to VS Code, and click on File Options and open the file. I usually use a terminal tool called terminal tool that allows me to open the project right here. Okay. So have you guys gotten till this step? Yes, the meeting will be recorded for future reference. And Sweta, is my voice still not audible? Or is it not audible for all of you? Is my voice clear now? Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. Madan, what do you want to see exactly? You want to see the installation step, or do you want to see the project structure? Oh, commands, okay. So give me a sec. So I'll show you once again how the installation works. Okay, so navigate to any one of your directories or simply create a folder in the desktop and just paste it here and type cd so you can navigate to that particular folder directly if you don't know how to navigate using the terminal. So now if you are in your desired directory, just type npm create vite at latest. So using this tool, we'll be able to create a React project. So now when you press enter, it would ask you to name your projects, call it, let's say, project one or something. And then it'll ask you to choose your framework. So choose React and then click on JavaScript. And that's all. Your project has been created. So any doubts so far? npm not found is because you haven't installed Node.js yet. So Sweta, are you facing any trouble installing Node.js? Guys, you can open your mic and also speak. Thanks, Patri, for sharing it. And guys, don't worry, the session is being recorded, so it'll be put on YouTube. So if you have any queries in the future also, you can look at it. So I think let's not waste time and let's start working on the project. So now
Bro,
yes.
bro, sorry for the interruption. I have just
Yes.
joined the meet. Can you
It's okay.
say what I want to do from first so that I can also cope up with
Okay,
the
okay, no problem.
process?
Have you installed Node.js in your device?
Yeah, I'm gonna install now.
Okay, Node.js, and are you on Windows?
Mac OS, bro.
Okay, then no problem. Just install Node.js.
Okay.
Okay, then just follow along. What you do is, do you know how to navigate to directories in your terminal?
Can you just explain that I'm novi in that?
Okay, okay, no problem. Okay, guys, for the one last time, uh, basically you just go to your terminal. Okay, and let's say you have created a folder in your desktop web project. Okay, so type cd, give a space, and simply drag and drop the folder in your terminal. Right, it will create, and then if you press enter, you would have been navigated to that particular folder. Got it? So now
Yes, bro.
when you're in your desired folder, type this command npm create vite at latest. So using vite, we'll be creating a React apps. Okay, and press
Okay.
enter. Press enter. It'll ask you for a project name. Just give something. Okay, and then you can choose your framework. So we are working with React, so we'll choose React. Click enter, and navigate to JavaScript, click enter, and that's all. So after doing this, if you press ls, so we can see that the directory, the project has been created. To cross verify, just open this folder. You can see your project has been created with all the required files. So now what you do after creating the project, just type cd, right? And type your project's name. So it's, and click enter. Now you are in your projects folder. Got it? Any more doubts, guys?
CD. अच्छा फोल्डर में नया मिल गया मेरे
Your mic is on, bro. Okay. So once you have created your project, I'll quickly explain you the project structure. Just give me a sec. Okay. So after you open your project folder in VS Code, this is how it will look. And I'll quickly explain you the project structure. So firstly, the node modules directory. Okay, it is not yet created. Okay, also guys, after navigating to your project, please type npm I. So it will install all the required dependencies. I will type the command here. Okay. So once all the dependencies have been installed, so you can see this known module directory. Please don't change anything in this directory or delete this directory. It is very crucial. It contains all your dependencies for this project. So then we have the public directory. Here we store all the publicly accessible static files like images or SVGs, etc. And then we have the source directory. The source directory is where you actually code your app, and you spend most of your time here only. And then you would have your package.json file. So this file is like a blueprint to your application. It has all the configuration of your React project. So it has your project name and then project version, etc. It also holds the dependencies you've installed for this project. So in future, if you install any new dependencies, all those will be listed over here. And with that said, let's get started. So here in your terminal, also guys, if you're not feeling easy to use this terminal, you can also go to VS Code and use its built-in terminal, right? So once you are in this terminal, you can just type npm run dev. So I'll paste the command here, npm run dev. So this command is used to start your React project. It starts a local server basically, using which you can view your application. So simply copy this link and paste it in your browser. So as you can see, this is your basic React project. So this comes with a bunch of junk in the start. So let's just remove all those junk. So inside your source directory, remove the assets folder. Okay. And remove the app.css file. Then go inside your index.css and delete everything. Okay. And go inside your app.jsx and delete everything. So once you guys do this, just put a message in chat. It should be working. Do you have Node.js installed? No, don't delete the main.jsx. Only delete the app.css file. This is a very crucial file. Please don't delete anything in this. So in the end, you should only have this app.jsx, index.css, and main.jsx file inside the source directory. Okay. Fine. So now this app.jsx is the starting point to your React application. So whenever the user visits your website, this is the first page they're going to see. So you guys need to know that React components are nothing but functions. So basically in React, you create functions, and those functions return a type of UI that can be rendered on your web page. So React basically works on componentization. So basically it'll take your entire web page and basically you build your entire web page with small components. So let's say you have a you have a nav bar and you have a footer and a body. You divide each of those sections as a separate component. So you make a separate component just for the nav bar and separate component just for the body and separate component just for the footer. And then you combine everything and display it on in your web page. So okay, so let's see how to create a basic React component. So in your app.jsx file, all you have to do is to firstly import React. Right? Once you're done, just type function and function and the function's name, and then we have to return the HTML. So guys, note that a React.js file ends with the extension .jsx. JSX stands for JavaScript XML. So basically, whatever you see here is not really HTML. It's in fact XML, and it's a derived version of XML, and which is called the JavaScript XML. So once you're done with this, you can export your component. So after creating components, make sure you export them, because without exporting it, you won't be able to access this outside this file. Right. So once you're done with this, if you go back to your web page, you can see it says Hello React. Clear till now? Yeah, sure. And now we'll see how to dynamically render components. So now you can see this text here is hard coded. So let's say okay. So let's say you're fetching data from any server and you want to display, let's say, the user's name dynamically. You can do that using this technique. So for now, we are not going to fetch anything from the server. So to simulate that, let's simply have a variable. Let's say name. Okay. So now our goal is to display this name dynamically inside this this HTML tag. So what you have to do is simply wherever you want to use that variable, just put curly braces, right? And just put the variable's name. That's all. So now if you go back to your application, so it says hello John. So if I change this to Gaurav, it says hello Gaurav. So it's dynamic. It is not static anymore. Okay. So with that said, okay, so there is one more way of creating functions in React. Actually, this is actually common for JavaScript as well. So you can create functions using arrow functions. So I'll just quickly comment this out and do the exact same implementation but using arrow functions, and I will explain the differences. So firstly, you say const and your function's name. So this is how you define your function header. And then like usual, you can do this exact same thing there. So the only difference between the arrow function and the normal function is that the way you define the header. There are also some differences that happens in the backend that will be taken care by JavaScript's that will be taken care by Node itself. So you don't have to worry about it. So usually when you see developers prefer using arrow functions. So for that sake, let's continue the lecture using arrow functions instead of normal functions. So now if you go back to the web page, it's the same. The application is the same. Yeah, it works. So now, let's say you want to make a simple counter application, an application that counts. So let's say you want to create a number and keep it as 0. And then you're displaying the number. So you can see it here. So now let's create a button. Okay, and let's call it plus. So our goal here is whenever we click this button, we're supposed to increment the value of this number. So to know that the button has been clicked, we have a event listener called onClick. So basically, event listeners are they simply listen to certain events, and upon triggering them, they can execute particular functions. So what we want to do here is adding this onClick event listener. We can say that when the button is clicked, we can increment the value of the variable by 1. So if you're wondering what this is, so basically event listeners take functions as their argument. So you can actually create a separate function called inc, and you can also increase the value of a number from here, and then you can pass that function. So then you can pass that function here. But this is a hell of a workaround. So to save time and make the code simple, we directly write the contents of this function here using something called a callback function. So callback functions don't have any header or don't have a name, but they are executed when prompted to. So right here, we can directly define the callback function like this. So this is exactly the same thing. So the why we're doing this is because here we don't have to unnecessarily define a new function called increment and then pass it here. We can directly do it like this as well. Right. So now we should expect whenever we click this button, the number should increase. But when we click, this doesn't happen. The reason is because internally the JavaScript is updating this value, but then nobody is telling React that a state has been changed. So unless and until something changes, some state changes, React is not going to update any of its values. So this is where we use a very important hook called useState. So basically in React, we have special functions that help us do certain things. And these functions are called hooks. And they usually start with the use keyword in them. Not keyword, their naming convention is that it starts with the use word. So to use the useState hook, we can simply import it. So we have imported the useState hook from React. So to use it, the syntax is as follows. Yes. Yeah, sure. So basically, the problem before was that when you try to update the number, it is being updated internally in JavaScript. But the problem is, no, it is not being conveyed to the React virtual DOM. We saw it earlier, right? The React virtual DOM is not getting the signal that the state has been updated. So it doesn't change anything. It doesn't render anything. So in order for you to inform React that a state has been changed, we use this hook called useState hook. And again, hooks are nothing but special functions that can be used for specific needs. So to use the useState hook, we can just follow this syntax. So basically the useState hook or the function returns two arguments. The first argument is the number itself. So now if you see, if I set the number default value to 10, you can see that 10 is being displayed here. So the first argument being returned is the value itself. And the second argument is actually a function. So this function can be used to update that state. So let's see how it's done. So here we can say set number and simply pass number plus 1. So all we are doing is that we have first initialized our state, and we know that we can set default values for the state. Let's keep it 0 for now. And this function or hook returns two arguments. One returns two two things. One is the variable, the value itself. Second is a function using which you can update this variable. So in this function, you can just pass the new value that has to be updated in this variable, and then the value will be assigned. And then this function will also inform the React virtual DOM that the state has been changed, and that state will be reflected and or re-rendered in the browser. So if you go back to the browser, and if you click on the button, you can see that it is incrementing. Clear? Any doubts? Div tag is not being identified. Also, a rule is that inside the return function, inside the return statement, you're only supposed to return one tag. That is, you can either return one h1, right? So if you have multiple tags in them, let's say you have one more h1, so it will show an error. So to prevent this, what we do is generally use a div, one div, and then inside that you write your entire code. I think you would have written more than one div in your code. Maybe that's why the error is being shown. Is that why, Sujay? Doing the same code. Did you import React and these two statements? Is it working for everybody else? Or is someone facing the same problem? Guys, please respond in the chat so that we can carry on with the code. Yeah, sure. And also, guys, I'll be sharing the reference materials and sources for this lecture. I think while we end this session, so that you can refer to this after while you're practicing. And that reference materials and notes contains way more than what we are going to explore in this session. So I think it'll be useful for you. So is it fine for all of you? Can we proceed? Yeah, sure. I can paste it here in the chat. Vasanthi, your mic is on. Ba? Okay. So this was about the useState hook. So let's also try decrementing the value. So again, I will create another button. Okay. So now using the same on-click method, right? I'll call the set number again. And here, instead of adding one to it, I'll subtract it by one so that the value decrements each time. Okay. So now if we go back to our code, so we can increment it and we can also decrement it. Okay, so that was about the useState hook. So usually people teach hooks after they finish props. But then I am teaching it now because useState is a very common hook and you would need it for literally to do anything. So I thought, why not just take it now? So if you guys have no doubts with useState, I can proceed with the props. Just put a thumbs up or take something in the chat box so I can proceed. It's not incrementing. Use the same code. Can you type your code? Oh, did you just copy paste this? Make sure you had set your state properly. I mean, this should work, buddy. Did you import this useState statement. Okay, Sarvesh. So basically, useState is a type of a React hook. So hooks are nothing but a special functions that React provides to do some specific tasks. Okay, so note that every hook starts with this use word. Okay, and then every hook has to be written within a function. It can't be written outside the function. It won't work. It should be written explicitly inside the function for it to work. So basically, the use state returns two things. One is the value itself. Whatever the value the state is storing, it returns that. And secondly, it returns a function using which you can update that value. So basically, whatever value you pass in this function will be the new value for that variable. Got it? Okay. Badri, no. Also, did you, after creating the project, did you type npm I? Okay. It's pretty weird, actually. I don't know why you're facing this issue. Okay. Is anything being displayed in your UI? Like, are you at least getting this view? Okay. So then it must be a problem with the declaration. Um, if everything is the same, then it should be working. I'm not sure why it is not working. Do one thing, come to your terminal, type command or control C until the server stops. Okay. And again, run the server by running npm run dev. So it will restart the server and then go back to your site and try refreshing the page a couple of times and see if it works. So if that works, let me know. So I'll be moving on. Okay. So now the core concept of React is to use components. So to make components, what we do is, see, you can create components just like this. Let's say you want to create a button. So you can just create a button.jsx file and write your code here and then simply import that button in this file. But a common convention is that you have to create a folder within the source directory called the components. So once you created the components directory, create all your components inside that. So in this way, you will be organized and you can separate your root component with all other components. So inside the components directory, let's say you want to create your own customized button. So you can create a button.jsx file. So here you can, like how we did here, similarly, you can import React. Okay. And you can create your component here. Okay, something like this. And then after creating a component, make sure to export it. So use this command to export the component. You can also export it directly from here. Okay, but just for the sake of simplicity and making your code look a little neat, I'm going to do it like this. So the main reason why we are exporting the component is because it can be used in other files. So we'll go back to our app component, and here we can import this button component directly. So all you have to do is just do import, type button. So here just mention the path of that file. So it is in the same, so in the same source directory, you have your components folder, and within that components folder, you have your button.jsx file. So it will import the component here. So what you can do is, for now, I'm just removing this, right? You can use this button component right here. So see, so it has been created. So if you go back to your button component, and so let's say your button has to be, let's say a button is specifically for incrementing or decrementing. You can create it like that, and when you come back to this, even though you used only one component, you can see it's like this. So the advantage of doing it like that is your code looks more cleaner and it is more organized, right? So now, let's say I don't want to hard code any values here. What I want to do is I should be able to specify what the button should display right from this. So because that's how you can truly make it dynamic. So you can use this button, reuse this button in multiple files, and you can give custom names with respect to that file. So to do that, what we can do is we can pass something called props. So just type props. You can name it anything actually, but props is just a naming convention. Props is also nothing but properties. So I'll tell you how this works. So when you come here, you can give specific properties to this new button component. So you can say, let's say button text, and you can say this button. So if you go back here, so instead of hard coding values, what you can do is you can receive this custom value via this props, and you can display it there. So what you have to do is you have to type props dot whatever value you have attribute you have given here. So it's button text. So copy it and paste it. So basically, I'll tell you how the props is structured. Props will be in a form of a JavaScript object, and it will contain its properties like this. So I have mentioned button text. So let's say if I say color to be red, so then this property also gets added on. So it says color red. So in order to access these individual properties, you have to access the props object and then access the desired property. So I want to show the button text here. So I'm accessing the button text property from the props object. And let's say I wanted to specify the color. I can also use the color property the same way. So say props.color. So now I have mentioned it like this here. And now when you go back to your oh, I went. Yeah. So we can see that our custom attributes have been dynamically used here. So this is how you pass props between passing props. The main reason why we do it is to pass data from one component to another component. So basically, let's say if we have some dynamic text here, which you want to pass to this button, you simply define a prop, let's say data, and then pass that data here, go to the component and simply access that property uh, like this. It's as simple as that. Any doubts? So I can just change and the value changes. So, any doubt? Oh, that's great, Batri. What do you do? How did it work? Okay. So another thing is that in JavaScript, we have a concept called destructuring. So give me a sec. So we saw that this is how our props is structured, right? So instead of manually typing each time with props.button text or props.color, what we can do is we can directly access the values like this. You can directly say button text comma color, and it will directly access the respective values. So, and this is how it works. So if you want to use that in the props, instead of typing props, put curly braces for destructuring and directly use button text and color, so that here you don't have to use props dot, you can directly use the button text. So now if you go back to your component, see it's the same. So if you go back here and let's say I have one more property called let's say new name or something. So Gaurav, so if I want to access this prop in this component, all I have to do is to specify the name of the prop, which is new name, and I can directly use that prop here. So it's that simple. Any doubts? Guys, please respond. Do you want me to teach something again? Please feel free to ask. All right. So let's quickly discuss some of the basic JavaScript functions. So you'll be using these functions very frequently, so I think it will be useful for you. So let's say you have an array here. Let's say we call it names, or let's say we call it users, better. Okay, and this array consists of objects. So it says name. Yes. Yeah. So it has name Gaurav and let's say age 19. And this can have multiple objects. So let's say name say John is 29. Say age 20. Okay. So now we'll discuss about two methods. One is called map and one is called filter. So like I already told you, if you want to dynamically display anything within your HTML, you have to use your curly braces. So now if I just do users, you're not going to see anything because JavaScript won't be able to render, JavaScript objects directly on your UI. You would have to individually access each value and display it as per your needs. So what we are going to do is after placing this curly braces, we say users and we use the map method. So say dot map, right? So this method will will take another function. So like I told you, you can create a new function to manipulate, or like we used in the on-click event listener, we can use the arrow function. Okay. So this arrow function takes in an argument. So the argument being user, you can name it anything you want. Since we have a list of users, it will return one user at a time. So we can access that user and make the required changes in the UI. So now I can type div, and let's say I want to mention the user's name. So I can do that using user.name, and then I want to mention their age. I can do that using user.age. So it will, what it does is it loops over this users array. It accesses the individual user, and then from there it will render components based on that user's data. So now if we go to our screen, you can see that it says the user name and their age, and it displays for all the users. Now the advantage is that, let's say you add more number of users, let's say, so you don't have to manually add them in the UI. It will be all automatically added. So this was the map method. Any doubts? Yeah. Badri, whenever you create any component in React, make sure you export it, because without exporting, you won't be able to use that component in any other file. Okay. And also, is Mithil here? Mithil or Vijay? Yeah. Vijay, do we have permission to take the session for some more time, or do we have to end it here?
Yeah, Gaurav, can you repeat?
Yeah. Do we have the permission to carry on the session for some more time, or should we end it right now?
Yeah, you can do for like 10 to 20 minutes if you want.
Okay. So now that we have discussed the map method, we can go to the filter method. So let's say I am looping through the users, and I want to only display certain users. So basically, if I see that the age is about 20, I don't want to display that. So what I can do in such cases, instead of map, I can use the filter method. So like the map method, this also takes a function. And like I always say, you can create a function if you want to, but please try using callback functions. It's going to make your life a little easier. And this callback function will also contain some arguments. So you can use the user. So what we are going to do is we are going to return. Yes. We're going to return the user. So say if user.age is less than 20. So that was our condition. If the user's age is greater than 20, then we don't want to return, we don't want to display the user. So we have a condition saying if the user.age is less than 20, only then we have to return the user. Otherwise, it returns nothing. So if you see the view right now, just give me a sec. Just give me a sec. Okay, I'll get back to this. So for now, if you guys have any doubt until now, that is passing props or using the map method, please feel free to ask. Okay, you want the prop syntax. Okay, fine. So after creating the button component, I have imported the component, right? So now I can simply use that component like this. So now if you want to pass data to this component, you can pass it as props. How you can do that is you can just type, say, button text, and then let's say it's click me. So if you want to pass this data to this button, you can go to the button and you can extract that data like this. So make sure you use the same attribute name. So I have mentioned it as button text here. So the same name has to be used here. And then now when I do this, now whatever data I pass here can be accessed in this component using this variable. So you go to your browser, you see it here. So if I come back and change it as I'm a button, it says that. So any doubts, guys? Okay, so there are a lot more topics to use case of map method. So whenever you're fetching data from any server, it will return in the form of a JSON, right? And JSON will more or less look like this. Let's say users. So JSON will contain an array of objects like this. It'll have user ID, username, and user's age. So now, when you fetch this data from the server, you would want to display it in your UI, right? So using the map method, you can simply iterate or loop over all the values one by one, and then display it one by one. So I'll just show it to you quickly. So you can say users.map, and then it will return each individual user every time, and you can use that user to display it however you want it to. So let's say, so what I'm doing is from this user's data, I'm using the map method. The map method gives me each user at a time. So first I can access this user, and then I can access this user, and then this. And while having access to individual user, I can access their individual data as well. So I can access their username and age independently, and then I can display the data of every user using the same template. So if I go back here, you can see that the data is different, but we have used one common template, okay, and display the data individually for each of the user. Got it? Okay. Anything else? So guys, I think we're all almost running. Okay, we are already running out of time. And in React, this is like the bare basics, and there are a lot more stuff that we can cover. So what I have done is I have compiled, all the topics and all the resources uh, as an MD file. So I have uploaded that in my GitHub. I will share that link to you. It has all the resources, materials, and source code for all these methods, all props, and it even has YouTube links where you can refer. So let's not stop the learning with this session. You can also learn React outside the session using the materials. And also, I've created using this concept. I've created a basic to-do app. So using a Tailwind CSS and other libraries, and all the documentations are mentioned in that repo. So I'll quickly share that link here. So after the session is over, if you're free, feel free to access that, and you can learn from that as well. So just give me a sec. I'll stop presenting for now. Okay, share the link quickly. So this is a link. Here you can find the materials, and you can also find the materials for other languages like Java, C++, React Native if you want to delve into mobile development, and many other tools. So feel free to explore all that also, and uh, keep following this particular link, because I'll be posting projects based on React that you can learn with proper documentation, so you can use it for your future references. So I think that's it for today. And I know 1 hour is pretty less for covering entire of React. So I think I did my justice to the time. So that's all, guys. Thank you.
Okay, so guys, a small request if we could all switch on your cameras so we could just take a group photo before the session ends. Just to record our event for today. Okay, so Vijay, please let us know once you have taken a photo, like a screenshot, so I can make the another announcement which is there.
Is everybody's camera on?
Yeah, has everyone kept your cameras on? So on behalf of the Open Source Programming Club at VIT Chennai, I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to Gaurav Gali for his insightful presentation today. And I'm pretty sure everybody is much more confident to dive deeper into React. And to end this session on a very positive and productive note, we would like to announce that we'll be having an robotics and IoT, Internet of Things session next week by OSPC Club. So the registration and other details will be shared with you soon. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, guys. I hope you had a great time and we'll see you again. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys. And also make sure to
Thank
follow
you.
my LinkedIn.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Thank you.